Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would someone move item 1.02 to approve the agenda for this evening?
Move it.
Are there any additions or corrections?
Yes, there is. Page 8, we added 7.11 and appoint administrative substitute.
Okay.
That's for daily subbing purposes.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed and abstentions. Passed 6-0-0. Our evacuation procedure at either end of this room are doors. You can exit through either door, and please do so in the event of emergency. Orderly fashion. Would you now join the board in pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No one signed up for public forum this evening, and we'll move on to item 1.06 to approve the April 11th regular meeting minutes.
Move it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed and abstentions. Passed 6-0-0. Item 1.07 to approve the April 18th special meeting minutes.
Move it. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Passed 6-0-0. Are there any questions with regards to any of the upcoming items under President's Report? I want to bring your attention to the Janet Angelina Hollenbeck Memorial Scholarship. A former teacher in the district made a request of her family to oversee a scholarship for the next several years, 5 years. It is with great appreciation that this district feels for her thoughtfulness and the thoughtfulness of her family to take the lead on this and provide opportunities for our future graduates of GRB. I would also like to mention that I need to, I've been asked by William Miller, our Area 5 Director, for our support in his nomination to maintain his position as Area 5 Director. So I need to know if you support that or do not support that. I don't know if you've all, some of you have met him. I don't know if you got to meet him or not at the convention. I tried to introduce him, but he's gotten kind of wily. It's kind of hard to nail him down. But he is going to be here next month to come and talk to the board about NYSBA activities. So I just need to know if you're good with us nominating him for that position. I got a yes,
I'll second.
a yes, yes. Mr. Connors?
Sounds good.
And
Yes.
thank you. All right, then I will make sure that gets sent into NYSBA. All right, moving on, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Superintendent Polvino.
Good evening. Thank you. What I would add just onto the President's Report, we didn't have the budget and the election on there on the 16th. We're ratifying it on the 17th, but on the 16th is our ratification. I see we have the Health Safety Committee, but we also have, that's our big day, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Is that working there, Mr. Wilson? All right. All right, thank you. So first I'd like to say, I'd like to acknowledge Jean Perry, my administrative assistant, our clerk. Today's Administrative Assistance Day, so thank you. Thank you. You serve us well, so I appreciate all that you do each and every day. Our first item this evening is our summer learning opportunities. Ms. Geithner.
Yes, good evening. Today I'm here to provide just a preview of what's coming for summer learning for the Fulton City School District. And this communication is getting out to families via building principals currently, and then we'll do a broader push on social media and other communication outlets to be sure this information gets out into the community. Our first preview of Save the Dates on Facebook garnered a lot of attention, and registrations are already rolling in, so we're really excited about that. This summer, we will offer 3 programs. Our K-2 Bridges to Success program, that's for students who are entering grades K through 2, so our current preschoolers and kindergarten and first graders, as well as students entering grades 3 and 4. That is all Bridges to Success. That program will operate from July 10th through August 18th. For our K-2 students, those are 2-week modules, and you can see the dates here on our summer learning website. Dr. Lisi, if you could scroll down just a little bit. Thank you. Our first session is July 10th through the 21st, the second July 24th through August 4th, and the final one August 7th through the 18th. We offer our Bridges to Success program in full or half-day sessions. If families register their children for a full day, half of their day will be with our Oswego County Opportunities partners in a summer camp enrichment style program. Both of these programs, K-2 and 3-4, will be held at Granby Elementary School. They are staffed by Fulton City School District employees, teachers, teaching assistants, aides, counselors, and coordinators are all from our existing staff. We also have a program for students entering grades 5 through 8 in partnership with our community school partners. That program will occur at Fulton Junior High School this year. It is a 4-week program. It runs from July 10th through August 4th, and it runs 3 hours a day from 9:45 to 12:45. And that is an interdisciplinary, again, summer camp style approach to summer learning. Students currently in 8th grade who need academic grade recovery will be included in this program. So they will hear directly from their counselor and Mr. Kaprosky, their principal, and their teachers about the need for summer programming. And others are invited just to participate as enrichment and extension of their learning throughout the summer. We don't have information yet on our high school academic recovery program. That is still coming together, and it's based on the needs of the students. And those students who need academic grade recovery will be contacted, as well as their families, by the high school staff about setting up that program. That program will also operate at the Fulton Junior High this year. So that's what's in store for the summer. We are going to go with a community-wide theme for our summer learning programs, which will be the sky's the limit, building on the excitement leading up to the eclipse that will occur in the spring of 2024. I should mention that this is free to all enrolled Fulton City School District students, and transportation and school meals are provided.
Great. Any questions?
No questions, just my appreciation that we're able to do all of these things. And I appreciate all the staff that stepped up to be available to help our students and to provide the programming. And I hope that our families take advantage of the opportunities that are there.
Thank you. Our next up is our logo mascot committee update. We've got a couple of individuals here this evening. We've got Maddie Meeks, a 4th grader. We've got Sarah Fay, one of our community members, and Alex Richmond, who's from our city PR department, who's really been instrumental in all of our meetings as well. We have other junior high school kids, but they all had some different types of things going on this evening, so I just couldn't be here. But we wanted to provide an update and next steps in our process. So if the 3 could come up to the podium. We've had 6 meetings since January. I will tell you they've been well attended. I believe we have 24 members of the committee. We've had upwards of 20 at every one of our meetings, so that's been good. The last one, a little lighter, little tiny bit lighter, but it was very good meeting. So I'm going to have Alex is kind of going to lead us through the PowerPoint presentation this evening to provide the group an update, and excited about our next steps in the process. Alex and team.
Thank you, Brian. And again, my name is Alex Richmond. I'm the district's public relations representative from City BOCES. And throughout the last, since January, we've been working on this. I've had the pleasure of being the advisor to the advisory committee. So we'll talk a little bit about what's been going on and some of the things that are going to happen moving forward. But I'm going to turn it over to these two first.
Hello, my name is Sarah Fay, and it's been a pleasure to work on this committee with many people many hands make light work. I do want to give a shout out to Alex. He was instrumental in providing us with lots of feedback from other schools who have gone through this process. And we understood that it was a process that was very emotional to committee members and to community and to school. So we always took that into consideration. On the committee, we were put together. It was a participation of administration, faculty, students, and community members. We met roughly 2 times a month. We first looked at the data from the initial survey that was sent out. We received 1,210 individual responses from community, high school, junior high, and elementary schools. We then took a look at that data to see what is it that the community members were saying, what were some of their suggestions, which we took none of them lightly, and why were they saying these? Because in the survey, we asked why they chose certain things that they did choose. Now I'll turn it back to Alex to get into the statistics.
Which is funny because once upon a time I was a high school history teacher and math has never been my thing, but we're going to talk numbers right now. So like Sarah said, we did have 1,210 different responses to the community survey that went out. We advertised that on numerous platforms, and we heard a lot of voices. We got a lot of opinions back, and as Sarah said, you know, we didn't take these lightly. We began with a number of questions, and then that kind of became more open-ended things that we'll talk about in just a second. But our first question, or one of our first questions rather, was which of the following should be prioritized by the new design? So we gave people the choices of local history, the possibilities that Fulton has moving forward, and then also the values that we really had established as the community and as the committee, excuse me, that were reflective of what was going on within the schools. And you can kind of take a look at the breakdown that's there from an overall perspective if you're looking at all the different surveys, because there were 4. There was a community survey, high school, junior high, and elementary. If you take a look at the overall data, it was actually a relatively even split. History definitely won out with 399 of those 1,210 votes. But when it came to possibilities and the values of the district, those were really well represented as well. So this was one of these foundational questions that we started with. You know, what do we want to prioritize with this new design? Who's clicking? One of the next questions that we had is what type of imagery should be prioritized in the new design? And this was kind of all over the place. So if you take a look at that big piece that's there, the gray one, 264 votes said that we should be prioritizing local history. Now, what was interesting about this is when we later went on to ask for suggestions of what kind of things would people like to see as possible mascots, we had very, very few options that you could really call historical. We had a lot more people actually gravitating more towards animals, towards some of the fictional characters and things like that we'll talk about in just a little while. So history was definitely the big one that was there. Local animals and then general animals were pretty big as well, with 221 and 149. We had 134 people say that we should be somehow emphasizing nature and geography of the local area. We then had 119 say, you know, let's look at something more fictional. And so we gave examples of things like dragons, wizards, what have you. And then there were 78 people who said we should gravitate towards something that's more conceptual. So this would be more like the Force or the Storm, things like that. Of course, Storm also goes into geography there. But again, these questions just helped us to kind of think about where do we go next. But on top of this, we also have all of the big suggestions that we'll get to later on. So our next question was, should the committee take this opportunity to evaluate Fulton's school colors, which currently obviously are a primary red and a secondary green? And we were very curious to see where this question went, and I think it surprised a number of us. So you've got no, yes, and then we also said depends on the icon selected. And if you take a look, the biggest percentage of that, 517 of those 1,210 responses, 517 of those were depends. So let's wait and see what we come up with as far as an icon. We had 276 people say, yes, we should definitely take this opportunity to switch it up and get away from the red and green. And we had 417 people then say, no, we should keep the red and green as is. We were expecting that there would be far more community members who would go with the let's keep it, but the data surprised us. And now this question, I kept it into the PowerPoint, but this next question that we have here has kind of been weighed in on by New York State. But on the survey, we did ask the question, if New York State permits it, would you be interested in maintaining the Raider name, but changing that Native American imagery that's associated with it? And overwhelmingly, the votes were yes, we should try and keep it.
So that was original, way back before we had the designation a couple weeks ago.
Right, because this was back in March when we initially put out this survey. As of, what was it, last Monday, Brian?
Mm-hmm.
The state did formally say that Raiders will no longer be an option. And so while this is useful data to have, it is moot at this point.
I just have a question. At the beginning of this, I heard you say that we went and we used many different platforms of 4 surveys. Was it only 4 surveys that the committee looked at, the junior high, elementary school, high school, and community? Were those the only 4? It was one survey at the 4 different levels, so it was just one survey at one time?
Yes.
That we've done?
Yes, so far it has just been one survey. There were different links based on those 4 different demographics because we wanted to kind of separate them and just see,
Right,
what.
but it was just that one survey?
Yes, so far.
You
Okay.
saw them, yeah, each one,
I did.
we did
Yep.
elementary, yeah.
So it was just like,
Same
okay,
questions, everything
got
the
it.
same.
It was just like a little confusing. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
I understand.
And it
Okay,
was
I just wanted to make sure I didn't
Nope,
miss
that's a
any.
good
Nope.
question.
So it was just one
It
survey,
was 4th, 5th, and 6th grade at the elementary level.
but it was the same survey?
Same survey.
Yes, one.
Well, the elementary was just slightly tweaked to make it more age appropriate.
Right.
But other than that, yes,
Okay.
they were all identical surveys.
Thank you.
So the last piece of this community survey asked people, besides Raiders, what new icon or mascot would you propose to the committee? And we had a lot of ideas, and we looked at every one of them. Some of them were obviously meant to be silly, but we took a lot of these and kind of began to crunch these numbers. So if you take a look at the names that are there, everything from coyotes to eagles, those are all suggestions that were submitted by the community, by students, that we saw at least 5 times. So anything less than 5, we kind of winnowed those away. These numbers right here, these are the 5 mentions or more. And if you look at the top end of that, eagles had 166 mentions. So that was a thing that we took very, very seriously, as was falcons with 120 mentions, dragons with 111. We do, of course, have the flamingos with 79, which the committee kind of decided was a little bit of a protest vote, kind of a joke, so we didn't really consider that one terribly seriously. But then it kind of goes on from there with flames, steamboats, foxes, hawks, bears, wolves. Now, it was mentioned that, actually I think, Sarah, you mentioned it, that I have done a lot of research into various school districts. I've actually worked with another school district that was in the process of a name change before. And I had the pleasure of really connecting with a number of individuals from Unionville down in Pennsylvania who had just gone through a fairly elaborate logo change. And so we kind of used them as a bit of a case study. And so Unionville followed a very similar pattern to what we had going on, where they put out a community survey, they got different ideas, and then they began to look at all of those ideas based on a specific set of criteria. We took that criteria, we made it a little bit more specific to Fulton, and it is what's right there. So we said that our new icon, whatever it may be, must be able to represent the entire student body. So it's got to be able to represent everybody, whether it's by type of student, gender, all that kind of stuff. Yep. It needed to be able to acknowledge and honor local history as well as school tradition. It needed to promote school pride. It needed to be able to respect our entire community and reflect Fulton's values and standards. It needed to be able to be translatable to identifiable branding and align with the school colors. And then lastly, be unique to Fulton, but not incredibly obscure. And that uniqueness ended up being a pretty important piece of the puzzle as we began to go through these top responses.
I'm wondering about the effectiveness of this step and this data if we haven't really focused on the local history. You know what I mean? Like I can imagine that, logos might, they come, people suggest them may have in their mind, they're making the suggestion from someplace. But if we say that we're tying it to local history, I don't know that we can assume that everybody has the same information. So how will we make sure, where will that step come so that, because that would naturally perhaps rule out some of the options.
And it definitely did, and honestly, that was probably the hardest piece of the puzzle, because a lot of the suggestions, if you really look at that list itself, if we can go back one real quick.
I mean, we spent so much time in groups going over this criteria.
What's that? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We spent so much time in groups going over these 6 specific things. And we would get 2 or 3, and then we'd have to rule some out. We felt it the most important to cover representing the whole school body. We're not just talking athletes, we're talking everyone. We also wanted to pretty much keep our colors, the red, the green, some uniforms are gray, but primarily the red. And I think our number one thing was promoting school pride. Something that would get the kids excited again, promote school pride. When we came up with a few historical suggestions like storm, for our blizzards or blizzards, steamboats, we just didn't feel that it would promote as much school pride as we wanted. As far as being unique, Falcons there's a team that we play often, Fowler, and they're Falcons. So we threw that out because it wasn't unique to us. And yes, I would have to say the history piece was the most difficult because it didn't align with what our major goals were going with.
I shared at the last board meeting that I had the ability to attend the National School Board Association's conference last month and the beginning of this month, and there was a presentation about we're not the only state that has districts that are going through this process. So, and there was a district that had presented there. So one of the things that stood out to me was before they got to the place of choosing the logo, they had the artwork to represent, like options that may make some of those things. I'm just throwing that out, appealing that.
We were hoping to do the artwork. I don't mean to talk for anyone, but we were hoping to do the artwork really almost at the end. We were hoping to reveal the 3 quite soon. And once we do that, then we once we do that and we get a community and student vote for the 1 or 2 that are top, then we hope to bring it back to the school culture committees. I'm getting ahead of myself, I know. They will make a final choice. Then there will be several designs to choose from. And that's when the designs go into place? What best aligns with us now? We have our name, now we'll do our logo that best hopefully represents those 6 things.
Yeah. So the idea was to take, after this survey, the next one we're sending out with these 3, narrowing it down to 2. Those 2 will go to the school culture teams in our schools, 5th graders to 12th graders. And the idea will be that they'll actually do the promotional aspect of putting different designs together and promote those in the schools, all elementary, middle, and or junior high and high school. And the idea will be, like you're talking about, they'll really have renditions to look at as final decisions are made and feedback is gotten on those final 2. And then the advisory committee will come to the board and say, this is the final piece that's come from the feedback at the end, after the 2 are juxtaposed against each other and whatnot. But Alex, if you could talk in team and talk about that a little bit. I know it's on future slides here.
I mean, do we want to?
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Was there ever a time that we thought about, was there ever a time that we thought about maybe after looking at the data and seeing what the results were, maybe giving the stakeholders and the platforms we use, the high school, junior high, and elementary school, some sort of direction in how to choose the mascot and logos, like based on the history and based on, like, think about the history of Fulton and think about the color options, and you know what I mean? We have more information now. I'm not sure if you guys have decided that Raiders are completely out, but I feel like
Well, the state decided.
79 flamingo answers, that's a lot from our kids as jokes, because I'm wondering, and I don't know, but maybe they didn't know what to put. And I'm just wondering if it would be a better representation of what the community and the students would want if they had a little bit more direction of what the results of the surveys were.
So go ahead and talk about it. I think that's a great question, Ms. Mainville. And I think if you go on to the next screen.
Can I make just one observation? I need to do this, about history. Yesterday is history. History is relative to all of us based on our age, based on how long we've lived here, based on our families and stories they've shared. History is different for each one of us, and there's things that I've learned over time and appreciate about my community, but I have to be honest, Fulton does not look the same as it did when I moved here. I've been here a long time. It is not the same community. We have changed. So I just want to keep that in mind, that history is relative to the people filling out the survey, and I think that's going to be one of the harder things to find total unity with, because again, there's that personal perspective that will impact how people feel about the history.
I completely respect that, for sure. I understand, I can see the wolf pack, eagles,
Yeah.
and then I see dragons. I'm not opposed to dragons by any means, but if we're looking at his, you know what I mean? And
I'm
that's all
wondering
I'm
if you
saying.
see the other
Right.
slides, I think it
Oh,
might
okay.
be
Got
helpful. Because I think I think one of the things I did write down, which I think is key, in the survey that we're planning to get out by the end of the week, I think framing the 6 questions, like you said, Jen, I think are definitely, that makes sense. I think you'll see in a moment, there's a rationale for each one of the ones that we're moving forward, and I think that'll be helpful, as well as the criterion. That was a good point, the 6 for the stakeholders to be aware of that. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
We did talk about, just to reiterate what Robin said, we went back and forth with Furies. The Furies, or Fury, and I'm not exactly sure, was an old famous baseball team in Fulton, and some people really emotionally wanted that. So again, I'm not sure our high school students could relate to that, history or not. So, just as a side.
No, right, but we always talked about
Right.
at the education part too. You know, like educating
Well,
the students on the we don't have to like do this in 2 months. It's such a long-standing representation of Fulton
It's our
City
identity.
School District, and it's our identity. I would just
Yeah.
hate to see it rushed and maybe they should learn about that. I don't have all the answers, I'm just throwing it out there.
And just real fast to take a step back and address one of your earlier questions about working with students to, how should they respond? We actually had a lot of feedback from students, even within the survey, that like, I don't really know right now, I don't really care, but I can't wait to see what comes out of the other end. And that's when I'll get excited, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So-
we had hundreds of comments. They spent a lot of time. We printed all the comments, and then the teams went through every one of those comments, matched them up, looked, and then applied the 6 questions to the process. And I think what we'll see is exactly what you're talking about, down to this last 3 or so that we've, at this point, I think will help with some of the rationales, and really where the kids in the month of May really will get the opportunity to dig into each one of these areas and really expand upon them and expound upon them, so that when the final renditions come down, the final 2 that we're going to use or consider, there'll be a lot of information, a lot of opportunity to reflect about what'll be there. So.
More time for feedback.
And much more time for feedback. And we're not rushed, we're just moving along in the process, and this is the next step. And we had to whittle it down, and that's the direction that the committee took based on those questions. They looked at all of the items that were there.
So throughout the entire process, we have had a phenomenal young lady who's been part of this committee, and she has been waiting very patiently up here to reveal the big 3. So, Maddie, it's all you. You want to stand up there?
Sure, you tell them your name to them.
Hi, my name is Maddie Meeks.
Loud and
Can you,
proud,
can you
man.
pull that down further? There you go.
There you go.
Hi, my name is Maddie Meeks, and I'm a 4th grader at Bolney Elementary School. The top 3 choices were dragons, eagles, and wolfpack. We chose these 3 options, and they were all from our top 10 choices.
So it's funny, I know you're looking at these and saying, what? And at the very beginning, could I have told you that those would have been our 3? No, probably not. However,
Yep, can you move to the next slide?
just so I can see better, sorry. We talked extensively about dragons, and it was not on our radar at all. But the more we talked about it, the more excited we got, especially school pride and colors, red and green. The dragons were one of the top most suggested names in the survey. The committee felt that it adhered to the logo criteria while also providing an impressive and intimidating mascot that many students could be proud of. And we're talking about all of the student body. The committee also felt that dragons offered the easiest means of maintaining the current color scheme, as I mentioned, the red and green. With the exception of SUNY Cortland, there are no other schools using dragons in our immediate area, again, keeping it unique to Fulton City School District. The Eagles, we went back and forth with using Eagles for a couple of reasons. There are Eagles in our immediate area, and Lanigan is Eagles. However, it was the #1 choice, and we had to respect that. So Eagles were the top most suggested name in the survey. The committee felt they adhered to the logo criteria while also appealing to local wildlife and history. People have been seeing the return of bald eagles in our area. While one of the most common icons in the school across New York State, there are over 50 in total, there are no schools right now in our immediate area using eagles. Now, Wolfpack. This is something that wasn't on our radar until the last couple of times we met. And as we talked about it, we saw it more for us. I think it was the pack mentality that drew us to it. Wolves were one of the top most suggested, top 10 in our community survey. The committee felt they adhered to the logo criteria, and by using wolf pack rather than just wolves, it emphasized the importance of community, camaraderie, and unity. There are only a limited number of schools using wolves in our immediate area, Union Springs being one of them, and none use the wolf pack.
So big question of what now? So on 2 slides ago, it did mention that at this point we are planning another community survey, hopefully to go out on Friday. This will now be turned back over to the community with the idea that we'll be presenting them with these 3 choices as well as the rationale that we just gave all of you. And we will use the preferences that we see in that survey to then winnow it down to the remaining 2. Now, once we have the final two will then be presented to the students themselves by means of the student culture teams, 5th through 12th. So
we're adding 4th grade to that.
Oh, there you go.
Maddie was very persuasive in that
And
area.
we're also adding more high school
Yes.
than what's originally on the school culture. I believe 4 freshmen, 4 sophomore, 4 junior, 4 senior will be added, so it will be
Really
more
going to
high school.
expand and build on those teams.
And making sure that we had that step of turning it over to the students was something that was very, very important to the committee from its beginnings. Again, using our Unionville case study, once Unionville went through their own process like this and brought it down to the final 2, they turned it over to students, and the students really made it their own. And because it was something that was, their own, they were fighting for it, they were researching it, they had the debate teams talking about it, they had all sorts of discussions going on. The band started making, curved horns because they wanted to go longhorns on their tubas, all this kind of stuff. But it instilled a sense of school pride that we have been arguing from the beginning is a very, very important piece of this whole puzzle. Like, yes, we're losing something, but we can also gain so much more if we can get particularly the students and then thereby the rest of the community behind these decisions. So we turn it over to the community with the final 3. That then becomes the final 2. The students then get the final 2 in those culture committees. The committee will then bring that final, the students will then vote between the final 2, and the committee will then bring that final selection to the board for approval. As we mentioned, then the logo design process will begin thereafter. Yes, some schools do the logo design process earlier in the whole setup, but it can be very costly, and it can also be very tedious, and we felt that was a step that was best left to the end once we're sure of that.
Right, I want to make sure it's clear that the school culture teams they're the only team that we have that's actually elementary and secondary together. And the idea is they're going to be the ambassadors from those committees, and all schools are present, and they'll go out and they'll be sharing and bringing back ideas and feedback from their prospective schools and grade levels and things like that. So the idea is they're our core that we're going to build off of, because this really has the opportunity to change the culture of our district and the way we do business, and the process is so key to all of this, getting the kids involved. I mean, they were talking about in some of these districts that are doing it the way that we're going through this kind of methodically, and is that they have the birthday of their mascot every year. They do their mascot's present at community events. It's involved in a lot of different things. It's embedded in everything that they do. And it's very clear watching those districts do that. That's the opportunity that we have here. And I think that's where the culture teams come in, because that's what they're really, one of their goals are, right, Ms. Geithner, if you correct me wrong, is really working on the overall school culture. This is an opportunity for us to bring a wide range of our kids together, and rarely do we have all 6 schools working together in connection like this. And I think that's going to be a great opportunity, and we're going to have kids, at the elementary level, the comments they were making right up on through our high school kids was pretty amazing. The amount of thought some of our kids really put into this, and things that are on their mind and important to them. So I just want to say I think the committee's done a lot of work to this point, a lot of more work to do. Ms. Mainville.
How how many students are on the school culture teams per,
I believe it's, you can tell us, Jerry.
There's between 2 and 3 at each grade level from the building, from each building.
per each grade level?
Well,
So
from
Mannequin
5
would
through
have-
12.
I'm sorry. I didn't-
Grades 5 through 12 are represented, and there are between 2 and 3
From every school.
from
From
each,
each school or grade level?
from each grade level from each school.
Got it. So so at the high school, you have 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So that'll be 2, 4, 6, 8 kids representing.
Between
them.
8 and 12. And
Between 8 and 12.
And we're adding 4 more
adding
kids.
more.
4.
And how do they disseminate the information out to the school body?
And just to go back to your question, elementary, each elementary school, 5th grade, 6th grade will have membership, all 4 schools. What would we say, 2 to 4? Yep, 2 to 3.
And you're adding fourth grade.
That's right. And then all the way up through. The idea will be we'll create opportunities for when they leave that, they'll go back to their schools and present, elementary, middle, those kinds of things. And at the high school, same thing. We've talked to Mr. Murray using different types of assemblies, things like that, where the kids present what they're, to the students. It's not going to be adults. The idea I'd like the kids from those culture committees expanding, and I think it's going to bring in other kids as well, because there are going to be some kids that are going to be very interested in wanting to share the ideas around the drawings and things like that and the renditions. So I think that they're going to be the core. The idea will be they will then do the education piece that you're talking about, relating back to those questions, for example, or bringing questions back to the committee as well.
Okay, so the students were chosen, the school culture, the school culture teams per
Yeah.
grade level were chosen. And so they've been working together with the committee?
So there's only one student school culture advisory.
Which started.
Not multiple teams, there's one, and it's been an operation, I think this is our 3rd year of that. So they haven't been directly connected to the advisory committee, but they've been a standalone committee that's been working on a variety of school culture topics over the years. And so because they are, every building and grade levels 5 through 12 are represented, the committee decided that that was a good vehicle for dissemination of information, because their role is already to take what they do in school culture committee back to their buildings and the student bodies in their buildings. So it was a pre-existing infrastructure, I guess. And so now the committee has proposed adding additional members to the school culture advisory, specifically for the purpose of promoting this process and representing student voice in the logo process. So it's an expansion of the existing committee.
Right, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel and put together school groups to start working on this. We already have a very effective school culture committee. It uses, they use it as a platform for their buildings. So we felt they were the best way to represent this.
And then
That's why we chose.
we have a plan where they can give the information out to the rest of the student body.
Hopefully, they're going to, put together ways to promote it.
I
Good.
feel like that might be the disconnect, so I just want to make sure that they get the information out.
So what's going to happen is on the 8th, we scheduled a special meeting of our advisory committee. This survey, we've got it all done. I don't know if we can get it up there on the screen or not, but we'll send it out to the board. It's all done. We just got to spell check it. It has all the information you saw this evening from the standpoint of the rationales behind the 3, background information, kind of that kind of thing, the criterion, which I think we need to look at adding, perhaps those 6 questions. When you're thinking about your choice, keep these things in mind, maybe. Yep. And then the idea is we're going to come together on the 8th, take all of that, the results, and then we're going to package it for a meeting, hopefully on the 10th, for the school culture team to come together and say, this is the charge that we'd like to have you take this information now, and how do we want to work with this to then expand and gather information to all the peers, educate our peers, about this, and help us create those next steps over the course of a couple weeks in May. And then the idea would be either to come to the board at the first meeting in June, or the latest at the second meeting in June would be the idea, if ideal times work, things like that. The idea is, though, the kids will really have this final push and really starting to bring this into fruition here in the month of May.
So I don't want to read into anything, so what I'm going to ask is that adults will be there to support the students to get this work done. Okay, so, and that's, I think that's the piece, is knowing that the kids are going to have that adult support to help them implement whatever they decide makes sense for their peer group. Is
I
that,
I had a question around, so two of the things that were my takeaways from the presentation that I referenced from another district in another state, but it made sense to me was, and I do appreciate the remarks about everyone's appreciation for local history, but history really can be the thing that unites people. It doesn't have to be, this is your history, this is my history. So I do want to, my thought is still around, I just want to be clear that that is connected to the ultimate proposal. But also one of the takeaways that I just generally learned from the presentation that I attended was that community engagement is critical as well. So I'm hearing a lot of involvement from our students, which is important and valued. But I'm not really hearing the community's involvement.
They have one, they'll have another vote, the community. We'll put the three choices that Maddie revealed tonight out to a community vote. And the community will make
Everybody will
their-
vote.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yeah,
that's
Yes,
correct.
yes.
That's fine. Okay. I just wanted to make
So
sure that I was
community
clear
has
on where
another
they
say.
That's
become
this next
engaged.
survey is to all the same stakeholder groups
Yeah.
that we did the first
Right,
one.
community will still have another.
So we whittle it down from
Will
this.
there be a
to
comment
this.
section in the,
There's not currently.
should there be, do you think?
Probably should be. Why not? Can't hurt.
yeah, I think giving people an opportunity to use their voice is important, and I don't think that it ever hurts to hear, and I would be interested to know that, what people think at this point in time, other than the fact, I mean, this is moving forward, and it has to happen, that's all there is.
So we can discuss, we're going to send it out to the team, the advisory committee tomorrow. We wanted to have tonight's meeting first, get any feedback, things like that. And then we'll take that, tweak it tomorrow, and then the idea is to send it out Friday and keep it open till the following Friday. Nice, short, tight window, and PR, public press release to the press tomorrow, or Friday, what's today, Wednesday?
Thank
Friday.
you for suggesting that comment piece, because it just makes me feel more comfortable having that there. And it's just a personal feeling, and I feel so thankful that of all the hard work that everybody has put into this, and there is no right answer, I feel, and there is no correct way to do this, because we've never had to do this before. But having that comment piece puts me at ease, because now we have a direction. And if somebody's like, well, have we ever thought about this logo? If there's enough interest, maybe we can revisit that. And it's just a chance for them to voice that. So that makes me feel better about that. So thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
It's not been easy.
Right. I can't imagine it has.
I have a very loud voice. It's not been easy because we understand the emotion that has been going on while we've been doing this. And please don't think that we're not compassionate about everybody's feelings toward losing. We were Red Raiders. I mean, we know we were Raiders. This is a school logo that will hopefully go on for a long time. We know community is important. We don't want students to not have a big say, because they're the ones that need to promote it and have the school spirit. But yes, we're always interested in the feedback, but it wasn't easy. We had other names several different times, and those were the three finals.
At the end of the day, I would hope that whatever is decided, the community will be the community it's always been, and will support our students in their endeavors with great pride. And our students will appreciate what it means to be whatever we're going to be in the future, what it means to be part of the Fulton school community.
And I appreciate the time that we're taking and not being rushed with it, since it is going to be such a long-standing part of Fulton City School District. So thank you very much for adding that suggestion. That makes me feel better. Thank you.
And I just wanted to ask one question, just for clarification. Going back to that slide where you were talking about keeping the colors or not keeping the colors, and how you were surprised that it was, not a big yes, keep the colors. Are we keeping the colors? Are we keeping red and green? Okay, so that the community will know that, that's on the survey?
Yeah,
Okay.
so the first part of the survey that will be going out on Friday is basically just a very brief update. This is what has been decided. New York State weighed in on the Raiders piece. It's out of our hands.
Right.
However, we are opting to keep our red and green.
Okay.
And then the slide that we had describing the rationale for each, that's actually on the survey, so
That's
people can actually read
Okay.
what some of the rationales were, and then you make the choice, and we'll add, the comment section will be at the bottom.
Good question, Brenda. I appreciate
you.
the update piece to it. Thank you for that.
So I'd just like to thank the group. It's been a pleasure to this point, facilitating the group. I've really not been a participant, which has been good, and my team's been right there with us. And the work that's been done, they're there on time, right there at 5:30, and we roll. The time we're together just flies. And our students have just been terrific. Some of our high school students are playing some sports and things right now, but Maddie has been extremely, a very positive representative for all students. She's very attuned to that, and I'm pleased you're here tonight, Maddie, and Sarah, thank you for being here tonight, and Alex, for all the work that's being done. And I look forward to what we accomplish now and in the near future, and then this is a long-term thing. It's going to take us a while to build that culture, whatever we do here.
Brian,
So thank you.
are the surveys set in stone yet that are going to be going out?
We've got the draft together. We're going to be sharing that with our team tomorrow, the advisory committee tomorrow, just to go through that rendition. So your question is, Tim?
So some of the things I didn't know, because I'm looking at this from a marketing standpoint long-term, I see what's up there, and I think conceptually versus what we say. And so, for example, have we talked about alliteration? Like, we could be the Fulton Dragons. We could also be the Fulton Fire Breathers. Taking the concept of the dragon is the logo, but using a different word or something that's actually, because I think cheerleading, different things where people are coming up with chants, ways to talk about it. Also, I hear wolf pack. Is there a way that we say wolves and wolf pack? Because I don't know if it was definitive that wolf pack was the dominant or that wolves just showed up a lot on the survey, and allowing for maybe the leeway that, which of these do you think animals, in a sense, represents what's going on, but also, we can be the eagles, we can be the dragons, we can't be the wolf packs. So I was just thinking about it from those different standpoints in a way that we could also put it out to the people that these are the ideas we're centered around, but also, are there other pieces like that that need to go into the equation? Just thinking the long term, Red Raiders, just those different pieces that I think are important but not thought about. And I want to make sure we're looking at all the angles, which I think we're doing. But I think the more input you have as a committee, the better you can come up with what the conclusion and take it from the data.
We did talk about alliteration a lot and how it was going to sound. And the majority of people did say just wolves. We as a committee took it a little farther with wolf pack, so we would be known as the pack. That's how a lot of people thought about it. Falcons was what we came the closest to, Fulton Falcons, but it wasn't unique to us, so we didn't use it. I know the ones, but I like the idea of the fire breathers. I don't know where we go with that, but. We did bring that up. Yeah, I think we talked a lot about Fulton Fury, Fulton Fire Breathers, Fulton Flurries. I mean, we did talk a lot about alliteration and how it would sound when you're introduced, going out on the band, the team going out on the field. So we did talk a lot about that, and maybe we have more to talk about when it comes back.
Are we really set in stone with keeping red and green if the majority of the people commented depends and no? Should we put a comment section about maybe, I know, talking with a lot of kids, maybe red and gray, not completely, I know a lot of them don't like the green. You know what I mean? Keep the red, but maybe red and gray. Is that a possibility, or have we?
Yeah, we talked about the accent colors could be, like, we have gray on some of our things now. We have gray in a couple teams now, gray, red,
Gray and red.
and we don't really have green.
Is
red.
it
We have
cut,
gray and
is it
red.
cut in stone that we're keeping red and green, or is it an option of doing red and gray?
So this is a very common conversation within the committee about the colors thing, and I feel like it's probably come up at some point. The last time it was discussed, the decision about red and green was to keep it primarily for that history piece. I mean, there were financial considerations and whatnot, but if you really look specifically at the red and green predates Raiders by a lot in Fulton.
It's in the alma mater,
And, you know, it has a lot to do with, you know, local heritage and things like that. So a lot of the talk, and yes, we went back and forth, red and gray, red and white, things like that. But the red and green was sort of one of those things where, like, you know, this is really that historical piece, because this is who we've been longer than anything else. So.
Are we gonna keep the alma mater? Can we say, keep the alma mater where it says Indian campfires gleam? Can we keep that?
We
Oh,
haven't dealt with that.
because, I mean, no, but,
I don't know yet. I don't think we know.
right, because, okay.
Do we know, Brian? I don't.
I will, I
If
I
we
would
can't
need to
keep
have,
the alma
I
mater,
had a
then that's a
wonderful
whole nother
conversation from
conversation
somebody
with
from
red and
NICEAD
green,
today, and
right.
I think I have a new friend at State Ed.
Yeah,
So
I think
that's a
we-
question I can bounce off him.
Yeah.
Right now, I think, right now
think
we
we
have to
need to
move down
ask.
the road, and then we
Yeah.
can determine, you know, how we want to work with that. But the red, it's interesting you brought that. The red and the green was actually, we had a lot of discussion. It dates way back to the cultural roots of Fulton. You know, I didn't know about Italian, Irish neighborhoods, Polish neighborhoods. I really,
Yep.
I learned a lot, actually. That was the area where we had the most historical conversation.
Yeah, and, you know, the committee didn't want to throw out everything. I
Right,
mean, we have to get rid of the Raider piece.
right. I feel
We
like
don't have
if
to
we
get rid of
don't,
everything else.
correct, but the alma mater's huge, because
So-
if we can keep it, but we have,
I
but
need
we
to-
have
Maybe
to
it's where
incorporate
our
somehow
campfires gleam and we
the
take
wolf
out the
pack
Indians.
or eagles, we have to keep that. Can we
Yeah.
just, where eagles nests,
Yeah, we can-
like,
Or we can
whatever.
That'll
Can
be the
we,
next
like,
project, maybe
incorporate
for
the
all of our
mascot
kids that
into
are
that
music
and
kids.
keep the
Yeah.
alma mater? I think
Yeah.
that's something we should definitely
It's something we need to get
think about, too.
clarification on.
There's a lot to think about, you know?
Because originally, I mean, and they made an adjustment when it came out. Originally, it was school districts also couldn't even allow people to wear the old, anything in school. That seems to have changed. We can't control that. That seems to have changed in what came out last week.
Thank goodness.
You can't
How
say,
could
you
you?
can't leave, you know. So I think that's a good change, but I think it's a great question, Jen. And I think we need to reach out with the state and find out what exactly that is. The key
there's
was
not
the
been
iconology
clarity
and
on
those
that.
other pieces. I will say, we're one of the few districts that actually sing, I don't know, everywhere I've gone before the games, we tend to do ours more than other districts,
Right.
which I think
Which
is
is great,
terrific.
for sure. I guess,
But we need to find out, so.
I guess I just don't want to rush it for those things, just because there's so many things to
Right.
take into consideration.
And that then goes back to the red and green question.
Right.
Because the royal red and green, you know, if
Right.
that stays the same, then at least that's one part of the alma mater that doesn't need to.
Right, and
be
if we have to
adjusted.
change Indian
like it.
campfires, then
put
is
something
that
else.
going to direct?
Right, we could.
that's
I think that could be,
Dragons, falcons, wolves, how can we fit that in without changing the whole alma mater? I think that's a discussion.
yeah, I think
worth
that's a
having, too.
discussion down the road, because we know we gotta change the Raiders, Indian, I mean, that's clear.
Right.
So we just need to find out, I think we need to work with it, right now, we need to work on the iconology, and then I think that's the next piece, that would be my point of view. And we haven't been, but I think that's the next piece.
Well, there
would
is a
be-
there is a deadline to be met, though.
Yeah,
No, 2
25.
years to make the full change. By the end of this year. we
By the end
have
of
to-
this year, we have to have a resolution that's
Yes.
saying we've made the full commitment. We're well on our
Right.
way to that piece.
So.
The question is just, there's a lot of things that would change. I think the other piece that we have is, we have a lot of red and green in our district, whether it's on walls, whether it's on fields, whether it's on, those pieces, red being the predominant color, which is good.
Royal red and green, you could have a crown with emeralds and
So,
rubies
again,
and
I think
whatever
that
the
gets
I'm not
whatever
against,
are-
I'm not against
Royals were on
anything,
the
I
list.
just don't want to rush it.
Yeah, well, we talked about royals. Yes, we did.
We will say there was a lengthy discussion that involved the alma mater on Monday and how there is a desire amongst the committee members to preserve it.
Yes.
So more to follow. I mean, as you can
Yeah.
see, it's a lot of work to summarize in 45 minutes. I thank the three of you representing the group tonight. Thank you for your efforts, and I look forward to our continued work together over the coming months. Thank you.
Great
Can I just,
presentation. Thank you for coming to our special guests this evening.
can I just say thank you to Maddie, because she just represented our entire student voice right there, and she did a great job. So thank you.
All righty, thank you. Next item this evening is our 2023-24 budget and the March 23 finance report. Dr. Lisi?
Thank you, Mr. Bovino. I'll start with our March 2023 financials. Just a comparison with our previous year and current year figures, we're in alignment. Our total revenue at this point represents about 80% of our total budget, and last year at this time we're at 79%. And our total expenditures, last year we were at 66% at this time, and we're at 64% now. But below that is just a graphical representation, so you can kind of see where we are and that we are in alignment and parallel. Also, as you know, in the beginning of the year, we started showing our cash flow projections, which has been very helpful for our office to plan and so on. And this year was really a year that we wanted to develop a baseline for cash flow reporting. So just want to show you where we are at this point. The blue line is our 21-22 ending cash balance over the school year, and the orange line is our 22-23 projected ending cash balance. The gray line is our actual ending cash balance. You can see we're pretty much where we had projected. We have a slight spike right now, but that's due to aid that we had anticipated earlier in the year. So we're where we had planned. I'm just going to fast forward here to.
Are there any questions on the financials?
Just want to remind folks again, as Mr. Bovino mentioned, the vote is coming up for the budget, and we thought that we would just provide you with a brief overview of where we are at this point. No changes as we reported previously. We have an overall budget increase of approximately 6.3%, which really is commensurate with the full funding for state aid. And we want to reiterate that means that it's a 0% tax levy this year. And I'll just fast forward to one more. And we have, our budget this year is $84,155,000 for next year, sorry. And that represents a 0 surplus and shortfall. Mr. Bovino, did you want to comment?
Yeah, and just a reminder, we're using $373,750 from our appropriated fund balance, but our reserves are they're very full. In fact, we've talked about the fact that they're over. As most school districts, any school districts, actually compared to school districts in our region, we're actually on the lower end of others. People's reserves are higher than ours. But we're in very solid shape with that, and we've talked about the fiscal cliff in a couple of years. We don't know what's coming. We knew this year, we knew last year because they were going to fully fund. What we don't know is what the increases are. What I'm seeing across the state is they're sticking kind of a 3% safe harbor. 3% for safe harbor for us would be very different than 3% in a wealthy district that got a 3% increase. So that's what created this gap in the first place. So we're hoping that the state really takes a look at this foundation formula and makes those adjustments. So I think this is a solid budget, as Dr. Lisi mentioned, 0% increase to our tax levy. From the school's perspective, that's not the assessments, where the school levy staying the same as it is currently this year. So I think we have a solid budget in place. The state has made no movement. They had, I think, their 4th or 5th extender yesterday. There's still a couple of areas apparently they're still arguing about and working through. And hopefully that'll be coming out soon. It would be nice to have that before the budget comes out, the budget vote comes out. But again, that won't change our bottom line budget and what it is. And we'll think good thoughts. Last year it went up a couple $100,000. Hopefully it'll stay the same or go up, if anything. So, are there any questions? All righty. Dr. Lisi, can you put up the next section, which is the May 16th annual district board election?
I can.
Just want to go over some of the pieces here. If you want to comment at all, you can. Working with us, we've been working very closely with City BOCES. You received these items before, but this is our budget season publication. So we've got the website. We're really highlighting, and there's a postcards that'll be going out. I'll mention those in a minute. But this is really showing our 2 voting districts, where we're going to have 1 voting district on the west side of the river, 1 on the east side. Every home will be receiving one of these, but it's on our website already. It's going to be, there's the front header page, and at the front, you know, if you turn our website on, you get the pictures of the kids going by on the rotation. This will be one of those slides. So it'll be the first one that comes on when you log in. So the first thing you see, and then every 4 or 5 rotations, you'll see right back there will be on the front page of that. Are you taking us there?
Can this, do we have the opportunity to share this with our local online newspaper, Fulton Daily News?
So what we're doing is, well, the other slide had the press releases.
Yep.
You'll have all this information, this very stuff, these very pieces of information will be publicized. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing.
So this is a little bit more in my normal wheelhouse than reinventing school logos. If we would just want to
Sorry, yep.
pop that PowerPoint back up. Basically, we're hitting this from a number of different angles. Like Brian said, we've got the website. The website now has its own additional page exclusively about not only budget-related things, but also specifically about the voting districts and the new voting districts that are there. We've got an in-home mailer, which is already printed. City BOCES currently has it in their print shop. It will be going to the post office tomorrow so that it will be in homes on the 28th. So everyone will be getting that right there, which has the map on one side, an explanation of the new voting districts, east and west, and then on the back it has all the important dates with public hearing and the actual vote and all that. And then to your point about newsletters, about press releases, yes, it's my understanding there's already been a number of press releases about it, and BOCES PR will assist in continuing to do that as we get closer. We have a pretty broad range of media outlets that we work with, and we will blanket all of them. And then also the newsletter. The newsletter is going to be finalized tomorrow with the candidate information that we will now have, and that will be going to press with the hope that it is in homes on May 9th.
And I wondered if any of our students were going to participate in collecting survey information for us.
Oh, the day of?
Yes.
We hadn't talked about that, but Ms. Perry will get that on our list of doing the surveys, as the exit surveys. Is what
I
they
didn't
are.
mean to make it her job.
No, but she has to remind me, so I can then work with Alex, so we can have something put
I'm
together.
sorry, I apologize.
And we also have to look at the kids that we're going to.
I just didn't know if our government classes, it used to be, they
we
used
need
to
look at it.
participate.
It's been on our list, I think. They
And,
appreciate that, so.
It's a
Aga-
wonderful seal of civic readiness opportunity for our students who are earning the seal.
And as long as we're doing that survey, if you have the survey ready for the logo, could we have that available also?
At what?
At the
At the board meeting or
No.
the budget?
At the
So
exit survey, along with the exit survey. Yes,
we're
no?
we're actually running the survey from this Friday
Oh, it'll be over.
to next Friday.
Okay.
So it'll be over.
All right, all right. All right, that's fair.
Yep, no, it's a good point, but we wanted to be able to get the
I
committee
wasn't
back
thinking
together.
about your
and
deadline.
so we
Okay,
got-
that's
Because
fair.
what we wanted is the opportunity to work with kids before school ends.
Yep, no, but
So
yeah.
we felt like that. We thought about that,
Mhm.
but then we took a good look and we realized that it might be better that, yes, we had.
But again, I think it's always helpful to get feedback on where people find their information, what they're utilizing to get that information, so that we know that we are hitting the right places with sharing.
Great point. And we've done it traditionally every year, so that's been something.
I think
that's
most years, yeah.
except the COVID
Yep.
years where we didn't have the, so. Alrighty. And then just a reminder to our community that the 2 locations on the west side of the river will be the Fulton War Memorial, and on the east side of the river, the City of Fulton Community Room are the 2 locations. And so hopefully all this information we're getting out there will allow for a smooth transition to moving to 2 sites. And the budget forum is next Tuesday, I believe, the 2nd, May 2nd. at 6 PM here at G. Ray Bodley. We'll also live stream, so that's another piece of information there. We're also working on capital project, putting a short video together to PR our capital project as well, celebrate what we've accomplished, but also what's entailed in this next project. And so tomorrow, I actually have to do a video for the first time in a while. So it should be good. So it's just another way to spread information so people have another way, another mode to do that. And with that, that's the conclusion of the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, do we want to talk about the 17th of May, a time to ratify?
Oh, jeepers.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's why we have our Administrative Assistance Day extraordinaire here. So the 5th, I'm looking at it like it was just the announcement. So what we did was we actually have this on our calendar to ratify our budget and our board election, which we have to do within 24 hours, which per the regulation. But we never set a time. So the question is, it's going to be, normally it's a 5-minute meeting, one of our short ones. It's just ratifying the results. Hopefully everything goes well on the 16th. The question I had was, did we want to do a 5, 5:30, 6, 6:30? We just need to be able to determine a time as a group this evening. So, President Griffin, if you'd like to.
So any suggestions?
Wednesday, right?
That is a Wednesday.
Yep.
Maybe early, something earlier, in case there's any sporting events that anyone needs to get to, or any other meetings, or.
Okay, so how early can we go? I know for Jess, it's like 4 o'clock. She can't be here much before like 4:15. I think she gets out of work at 4.
Mr. Cordone, what time?
4:30 worked the last time.
Okay, yeah, we did do 4:30.
Before most of our sports
Yep.
really.
4:30 or 5.
Yeah, let's,
Kids usually don't start till like 6:37.
yeah, let's do 4:30 if that works for everybody.
Mr. Connors, 4:30 work for you?
You picking me up?
Sure. I can do that. I can do that.
Sounds good.
Mr. Crandall? Mr. Crandall, are you good with 4:30? Dave, you are? And Brenda, you are?
Yes,
Okay,
I am.
let's say 4:30 then, on the 17th, to ratify. And it is a very brief meeting.
All right.
I'll be surprised if it takes 5 minutes.
All right. Thank you for the reminder, Ms. Perry. And that now is the conclusion of the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Okay. This brings us to item 4.01, to accept the financials reports. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 600. Item 4.02, to accept the budget transfers.
Move it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 600. Item 4.03, to accept the donation of bottles for science. Any discussion? I just would offer, again, my sincerest thanks to Clinton's Ditch for providing those bottles so that our students could have some fun time in their science class. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, and abstentions. Pass 600. Item 4.04, to approve the Oswego County BOCES City Agreement of Continuing Education.
Move it.
And I just wanted to say, this is for the adult ed courses, if you weren't aware, that are traditionally handled by the city BOCES. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 600. Item 4.05, disposal of surplus property. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Pass 600. Item 4.06, to award the turf protection tiles bid.
Move it.
Any discussion? All those in, yes.
Is that for graduation?
To protect the, and whatever, any other activity where they would need that to get on the field.
Allows us actually to do more things down there.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good thing. We didn't do that the last time, so this is a good thing. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, and abstentions. Pass 600. We have information, 4.07, end of tax collections. Somebody wanted to talk about that, or just an update? So, okay, so those reports were provided in backup. Yeah. All right, item 5.01, approve the Committee on Special Education recommendations. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, and abstentions, passed 600. Item 5.02, to approve the City BOCES 2023-2024 budget, the reason we are meeting here tonight.
Move it.
This is going to be a roll call vote. I'm going to ask Mrs. Perry.
Mrs. Albagor? Mr. Connors? Mr. Crandall? Mr. Cordone?
Yes.
Mrs. Griffin?
Yes.
And Mrs. Mainville?
Pass 600. And there is a typo on there. On our list, one of our members has a Mrs. instead of a Mr. I think you are. It was a typo. Everybody's entitled. We all make mistakes. Stop already.
It's okay.
All right, so now I have item 5.03 to cast the ballot for City Board of Education members. Would someone move it?
Move it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, and abstentions? Pass 600. Any comments or discussion on the first reading of the policies that are listed? Mr. Connors, did you want to speak to anything on this one or not?
If anyone has any questions, would feel free to speak, but if everyone's good with it, I think we're good to move forward.
Okay. No questions for those of us on Policy Committee? All righty. Item 7, or I'm going to ask, would you like to batch items 7.01 through 7.14, which are all our personnel resolutions?
Move it.
Any discussion on any of these items? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, and abstentions? Pass 600. Mrs. Abelgor, would you like to start off board forum tonight?
I just want to thank the committee that worked on our logo. They have put in a lot of hours. They have gone through a lot of data. The presentation was good tonight. It was nice to hear from them directly as to where we are at this point. And I thought that Maddie did a really good job, so I love seeing our students here. There was something else that just went.
All set?
Yeah, I think I'm all set for right now.
All right. Mr. Crandall? In your microphone.
Thank everyone for their presentations. I think they're getting there where we've narrowed things down and just wait and see what we come up with, and that's it.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jean.
Mr. Connors?
I don't want to sound like the broken record, but again, the committee, I think, did a great job putting together the pieces, really working through the nuances of what goes into this discussion. So I'd like to thank them, especially our student representatives like Maddie. You know, it's important to hear their voices among the community members because they are our future, and what we decide is what they have to live with. I also would like to thank Jean. She always goes above and beyond for all of us. And then we tell her she, maybe misspelled something, and then she still comes back every day. When I picture a smile on your face, Jean, whenever you see me coming. So
Always,
thank you
Tim.
for
Always.
everything you do.
You're very
for us.
welcome.
Mr. Cordone?
I don't have anything additional. Again, thanks to the committee and the update, and I can only imagine all the conversations that I'm sure have happened so far. So thank you for sharing.
Mrs. Mainville?
Thank you to the logo committee. I know that it's untraveled terrain. Nobody's ever had to do this before, so thank you for fielding the questions and the concerns and all of your hard work, because that is a difficult job. Thank you to our student representative, Maddie, for showing up and being patient while we talked, and she had to wait. She did a really great job.
She did.
Oh, and thank you, Mrs. Geithner. the summer learning camps and opportunities. That sounds exciting for the summer, so thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Lisi.
I have a few things. I wanted to share my congratulations to the students that won the Battle of the Books. I very much enjoyed reading about our grade 3 and 4 winners, Fairgrave Reading Stars, and who won in a sudden death elimination against the Volney Sunshines. And then the 5th and 6th graders at Lanigan's Royal Readers Rethroned took first, and how exciting for them, and I hope that they do well as they continue to compete. I want to offer my congratulations and heartfelt thanks to our land tech, Jeff Bertolini, and our tech teacher, Nick Duval, for their recognition, well, not for the recognition, for the work they did. They developed, if you didn't get to see it, the article, an instructional technology support tool that they can be used to demonstrate topography mapping, water erosions, landscapes, and more. And the fact that they took the time to figure out what they wanted to do and create this tool, and it can be used by a lot of different people. Apparently it is being used throughout the school. It's quite exciting, and it promotes our STEM learning and teaching. So I found that very exciting, and I don't know if everybody had a chance to read that, but there's a lot going on in our schools. We have a lot of committee work going on here. We have and there's all that learning and teaching going on every day that we don't often stop to think about. So I just wanted to bring some attention to that. Again, I agree with you. My appreciation to the logo committee for a very hard topic to have to work through, and I appreciate their sensitivity to the fact that it's emotional for a number of people. And last but not least, Jean Perry, you are more than a right arm. I can call you with a need, and you always help me find what I need to do to make things happen for this board. I can't thank you enough for how you help me help this board and myself with my duties. We couldn't do it without you. One day just doesn't seem like enough, but it's all you're going to get, and if that's all mothers get, I guess, we'll have to just, live with that.
I appreciate it, and like I said at the beginning of the meeting, this is a great group, and I'm happy to support wherever I can, and lots to be done, and lots have been done, so.
And I, without a doubt, you keep us on the straight and narrow and keep us running in the right direction.
Except
And
for
then
spelling.
the reports tonight, as always, are very good, and Mrs. Geithner, I'm very excited about all the summer offerings also. And I just, again, can't thank everyone that's involved with the summer programming. I can't thank them enough for giving up their time over the summer. A lot of people think it's just, summer, you're off, and yet many people are going to be here engaging our students in a fun way and helping them gain in their learning. So with that, anyone in the audience that wishes to address the board on anything pertinent to tonight's agenda? Okay, no one. So would someone then move to go into executive session?
I'll move second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Passed 6-0-0. After a 5-minute break, we're going to go into executive session, take care of the business we have there, and when we return, we will come back out of executive session to close out the meeting. Thank you to those that tuned in to participate tonight, and those that came. Have a good evening. Item number 9.01, to adjourn the meeting.
Move it.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed and abstentions, passed 600. Thank you all for a great meeting.